Hello everyone, Matt here from Parse. Parse is a backend as a service platform that provides you with all the tools you need to create amazing apps for the platform of your choice without having to worry about servers. Parse's data platform allows you to easily store all of your app's data and files using our intuitive SDKs and to manage it with our beautiful web UI. To send push notifications, Parse provides an incredibly powerful push platform that allows you to use code or a web console to send highly targeted pushes based on the data you've stored. For the functionality that doesn't belong in the clients, there's Cloud Code. It allows you to easily integrate with third-party services and to write custom logic that will be executed on Parse's servers. And finally, there's Parse Social, an almost magical solution that manages user counts and authentication, whether you want to provide a typical username and password option or a Facebook option like we'll use today. In this screencast, we'll enhance the scrumptious sample application to use Parse. First, we'll simplify the login flow and make sure all the data is being stored on Parse. And then, we'll add a sophisticated timeline feature to the app. So let's get started. To integrate Parse with Scrumptious, we'll need to add the Parse SDK to the app. We can download the SDK from parse.com/quickstart and simply drag it into our app. Much like the Facebook SDK, Parse depends on several other core frameworks, so we need to link them in the build settings of our app. I've already done this, but the full list is available in the Quick Start guide. With the Parse SDK ready to go in the app, we need to initialize it with our Parse keys by calling parse setApplicationID client key in the application didFinishLaunching method. To enable the Parse Facebook integration, we'll also add the pffacebookutils initialize Facebook function. Parse will then automatically detect the Facebook SDK and use it when it's needed. With the Parse SDK set up and ready to go, let's start by simplifying the login flow by taking advantage of Parse's pfLogin view controller. While it's not necessary to use this control to manage users in Parse, it makes it really easy. I've already rearranged the structures of the views in the app to better accommodate the features we're about to add. We won't go through all these changes here, but feel free to download the source code and check it out. In the application delegate, we now have a navigation controller that displays a timeline view controller. We'll take a look at this controller in details later, but for now, let's see how this controller can show a login screen. In the initialize function, we'll create a new instance of pfLogin view controller, set Facebook as a login type, and set the delegate to the current class. In the viewDidAppear function, we'll use the pfuser function to determine if someone is currently logged in, and we'll present the login view controller modally if there isn't. After the user successfully logs in, we'll want to dismiss the screen. To do this, we'll use a delegate function loginViewController didLoginUser and simply dismiss the view controller. And that's all that's needed to create a beautiful login screen for Facebook. All user data will automatically be saved to our Parse app. While we're using the default look and feel in this app, you can customize this view to fit your needs in your own apps. Now that users are being created and stored on Parse, it's time to figure out how we can store users' posts and display them in the timeline. For this app, we'll want the timeline to show the current user's posts, as well as all friends' posts where the current user was involved. Let's start by designing the data model, which will describe how this data will be stored on Parse. We already have a user class, so let's add a post class to represent scrumptious posts. We'll store the meal and the location as strings, the author as a pointer to the user class, and the friends involved as an array of Facebook IDs. On the user class, we'll also store the user's Facebook ID and all the user's Facebook friends as an array of Facebook IDs. So how will our timeline query work with this data model? Well, first, to get the current user's posts, we'll look for all posts where the from user field is equal to the current user. To find friends posts is a little more tricky. We'll start by finding all the user objects whose Facebook ID is contained in the current user's Facebook friends array. This will find all the user's friends who also are using Scrumptious. We'll then create a query for posts where the from user field matches one of the users returned by the friend query. This will give us all the posts by the current user's friends. However, we want to limit this further by only fetching the posts where the current user was also involved. So, we'll also make sure that the toUser field of the post contains the current user's Facebook ID. Armed with these two queries, one for the user's posts, one for the friend's posts, we'll combine them with an OR to create our timeline query. Whew, so now that we got that figured out, let's get coding. There are three important parts to implement. First, we'll need to fetch and store the necessary Facebook data about our users. Then, we'll have to create the post objects. And finally, we'll have to use our query to display the right posts in the table view. To add the needed information to our user class, we'll need to modify the didLoginUser delegate function. Instead of dismissing the view controller, we'll query the Facebook graph for the user's personal information, save it on the parse user object, perform a second Facebook graph query for the user's friends, and also save this on the user object. With all this done, we'll dismiss the login view controller like before. And that's it. Before logging in, the user's Facebook information will be fetched and saved in the user class. Now to create the post objects, we'll open up the SC view controller, find the post open graph action function, and enter a code right after the successful open graph action is done. Here, we'll create a new PF object of type post, set the meal and the location name, set the from user field to the current user, and set the to user field to an array of the involved Facebook friends. To save this new object, we'll use the powerful Save Eventually feature, which automatically manages all tricky issues associated with unreliable or non-existent internet connections. Finally, it's time to display our posts in a table view. Parse provides a great table view controller subclass called pfQueryTableViewController. As the name implies, this class allows us to set a parse query and automatically display all the objects returned by the query in a table view. The timeline view controller I've created is already a subclass of pfQueryTableViewController. To set the query, we'll override the query for table function. Here, we'll add the query we came up with earlier. To spice up the look of the cells, I've also already added some code in the table view's self_row@index_path function. So let's try out our app. Here's the beautiful login view controller, and here's a timeline of all my and my friends' recent posts. And if we look at our Parse Data browser, we can see that all our user and post data have been stored in our Parse app. And that's it, so be sure to sign up at parse.com and get started with Parse and Facebook with the scrumptious app we just created, or check out our second sample app, AnyPic, a fully fledged Instagram clone that also uses Parse and Facebook. Thanks for watching!